Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto was in Jujutsu Kaisen Part 1. Before we start, please go support NaruErza for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Naruto is a male in this story. Chapter 1, Ushuaia, Argentina. Known as the end of the world, with an average annual temperature of 5.7 degrees centigrade. A beautiful landscape, mountains and biodiversity covered by snowflakes. On a cliff listening to the water of the Atlantic Ocean breaking against the rocks, there was a person in a meditation pose. The bird flew to rest on one of that person's shoulders. The individual opened his eyes revealing sapphire blue. "It seems like it's already dawn," he exclaimed, slowly getting up from the ground. His right hand traveled to pick up a rock from the ground and with it make a small mark on a larger one. The boy took several seconds to count the engraved marks. The fingers of his hands rose or fell, depending on the calculation. 240 days. "It's been 8 months," he exclaimed, smiling. "Should I go back?" I asked without receiving an answer. And he would never receive it, after all, he had been confined in that place for 8 months, without contact. He began to walk slowly in the direction of the nearest city or town. It was time to return. Yuji Itadori had died. He, along with his companions, Fushiguro and Kujisaki, had fallen into a trap set by the bigwigs of the world of sorcery. They had to face a special grade curse, something out of the reach of that trio. To survive, Itadori had to turn to Sukuna. By taking control of the body, the king of curses defeated the curse and then tore out his heart. Itadori only had 2 options. Let Sukuna free or regain control of his body, but dying in the process. Finally, on that rainy afternoon, Itadori passed away. Or well, it is believed. Jujutsu High School. The peculiar sound of crickets could be heard in the air, warning that summer was near. That place had a certain resemblance to the sanctuaries where people prayed to the gods. He said we should live many years, Fushiguro revealed, sitting 1 meter away from his partner. When you die, nothing matters anymore, Nobara stressed as if the death of his partner had not affected him. Is this the first time that a partner has died? He is the first in my same grade. You seem calm, you too, and if. I only knew him for a couple of weeks, the girl said. I'm not a soft woman to whine for a guy like that. A couple of seconds of silence reigned between that pair. The boy's gaze fell on his companion and he could see a sad grimace. Nobara was trying to hide her feelings with her personality. Although she acted, the girl suffered the loss of her partner. The sound of footsteps echoed in the pair's ears, causing them to divert their attention towards the source. "Hey, I see you more depressed than usual, Megumi," a woman greeted. "What's happening? Did someone die?" "Ah, Zenin, don't call me by my last name," the annoying girl exclaimed. Maki. Behind, hidden in a tree, 2 people came out. Well, you could say one. The second individual was a panda. "Yes, someone died," the panda reported. "A first-year one yesterday." The Kaka, the other hidden person, exclaimed. "They would have warned me before," said the girl, regretful of her previous action. "Now it looks like I'm a cruel and merciless demon," the girl shouted angrily at the new pair. "And that's what you are or not?" The panda defended himself. "Shake, who are those?" Nobara asked, pointing to the trio who were arguing. "They are the second years," Fushiguro answered. "She is Zenin senpai, she is the #1 student using magic tools," he commented, pointing to the girl in the group. "The master of curses, Inumaki senpai. Her vocabulary is limited to onigirous fillings," he informed, now pointing to the boy. "And he is Panda senpai." "Are you really going to present the panda as panda and nothing more?" Nobara asked. "Then there are 2 more. One is called Yuta Akatsu and he is the only one respectable. He is now abroad," Fushiguro reported. "The last of them is Naruto. He is also abroad, training for 8 months. "Ah, we apologize for interrupting your duel," Panda exclaimed. "But we want to invite you to participate in the exchange event with the Kyoto branch." "Huh?" Nobara expressed confused. "An event in conjunction with the Kyoto Jujutsu School," Maki Zenin reported. "But that is an event focused on 2nd and 3rd years, right?" said Fushiguro. "But the stupid 3rd years are suspended. Yuta is abroad and Naruto doesn't know if he will arrive in time. So we are missing people. That's why I want you to participate," Maki gave her reasons. "And what is the game?" Nobara asked innocently. "The first day will be a group battle and the second will be individual battles," Panda revealed. "Are they fights between sorcerers?" "Yeah. It's a war of sorcerers in which anything goes except killing," Maki said smiling. "Oh, I see. So you are going to participate, right? In honor of your partner who passed away, right?" The girl with the glasses smiled. "Yes, let's go," the first pair of sorcerers responded at the same time. "Nursing within the school. I want to reset that world of sorcery formed by the High Command, that is my dream," Goho Satoru revealed. "It would be easy to massacre them, but I wouldn't get the revolution I seek. Besides doing that, I wouldn't get followers. That's why I chose education. That is, form strong and intelligent comrades. Standing next to him, Ijichi listened attentively to the words of the strongest sorcerer. They are all very good. Especially those three. Third year Haraki, second year Akatsu and Uzumaki, they are going to be sorcerers who reach my level, he exclaimed, closing his hands in fury. Yuji was going to be one of them, she thought. Hey, guys, Shokoieri caught the attention of the pair. I'm going to start, right? He commented without seeing that the body behind him suddenly sat down. Are they going to stay there and watch or what? Finally the woman turned around to put on a surprised expression. Hey, I'm naked, Itadori exclaimed, seeing his state. SSS Mr. Goho, Ijichi exclaimed, stupefied. RRR revived. The poor man couldn't articulate the words correctly due to shock. What a shame, Shoko mentioned, taking off his mask. Yuji, how good to see you again, Goho greeted with a smile. Hello, good, I'm back. Teacher and student greeted each other by high-fiving. Several days later, two students from the Kyoto Jujutsu school had ambushed Nobara and Megumi. A fight soon began between the magicians. Aoi Taudu had cornered Fushiguro and Mai Zenin had defeated Nobara. What's happening? Do you want to fight? Mai asked, confident to see her sister point that wooden weapon at her. Arms and legs wrapped around Mai's body, throwing her to the ground, imprisoning her in a lock. Thank you for the support, Maki, Nobara thanked, applying more force. You put a hole in my new gym jacket, you'll have to give me your uniform in exchange, she exclaimed, addressing Mai. Next time I will make more holes in your body. Besides, your legs are too short to wear my clothes, don't you realize? Zenin mocked. At that comment, Nobara applied more force, choking the girl even more. We're leaving, Mai Taudu exclaimed, appearing. Huh? Nobara stammered in surprise, leaving her hostage free. And Fushiguro? She asked, slightly worried. If this guy was here, that meant something had happened to the black-haired man. Alright. Panda and the other one are with him, Taudu informed. It seems like they were having fun, right? She expressed with slight mockery, looking at her partner. Don't buck with me. I'm just starting, Mai exclaimed, reloading her revolver ready for the second round. Before anything happened, the sound of footsteps began to echo through the place. The quartet present turned their heads towards the origin of the sound. A shadow began to be seen without much clarity due to the sunlight. Make way, she asked, singing, the shadow beginning to be seen more clearly. Of the four people, three recognized that mocking voice, Nobara being the one who did not. It looks like this year we could win, Maki thought with a small smile. The person finally came to be only 2 meters away from those present. He was tall, almost 1.80 centimeters tall. His physical build was similar to that of a professional MMA fighter. His sapphire blue eyes watched everyone with boredom. His blonde hair was neither long nor short, fitting him perfectly. Peculiar marks were engraved on his cheeks. 2 piercings were visible in each ear. In his mouth he was tasting a small ramen-flavored popsicle. He was wearing the typical black school sneakers, black uniform pants, and a short white t-shirt clinging to his body. Make way. Uzumaki Naruto-sama has returned. The second-year student, Uzumaki Naruto, smiled, showing a huge smile. End of chapter. Well, everyone, welcome to this new story. Hope you like. This will be Naruto's appearance. Even the uniform looks like Jujutsu. Chapter 2. He was an officer. The tension had doubled since that unknown subject had entered the scene. Or that's what Nobara was thinking. Uzumaki, Mai said, casting a threatening look. Your look scares me, Naruto exclaimed sarcastically as he raised his arms in surrender. By the way, who were you? I ask as if I didn't know you. With your presence the exchange will not be boring, Taudu mentioned, smiling, looking at the blonde. The light crack was heard as Naruto snapped his popsicle with his teeth. He had only bought it 5 minutes ago. Ah damn, I can never finish eating them. I always bite them accidentally, he said, giving a sigh of disappointment. The indifference of his rival did not matter to Taudu, but the girl was another case. Who are we? I'll make you remember, you bastard, Mai exclaimed angrily, pointing her revolver at the blonde. Before he shoots, Naruto spit out the leftover popsicle stick. The projectile traveled at high speed until it was stuck in the wall behind the quartet. A small trickle of blood began to run down Mai's right cheek. If what they want is to fight, then let's fight, Naruto said, opening his arms as if he were going to hug someone. Even more furious than before, the girl raised her gun again to shoot, however, this time she was stopped by Taudu. It's not enough. Unlike you, I still have unfinished business here in Tokyo. Faced with this revelation, everyone present put on expressions of shame. I don't know what I could do if I don't take the right path and miss the event. Come with me, Mai, Taudu asked, setting off. Okay, here I go, answered the girl, trying to reach her partner. What a selfish guy. The trio of Tokyo sorcerers watched the retreat of the Kyoto pair with mixed feelings. So you know, Mai said, turning around. In the exchange event things will not end like this. Repeat it until you believe it, Baka, Naruto exclaimed, sticking out his tongue in mockery. Don't act like you won, Nobara shouted, pointing at her. and leave your uniform. You too, stop it, Maki mentioned, gently hitting the back of Nobara's head with her wooden sword. Nothing happens if we win or lose here. You have to puree them at the event. I see, Nobara and Naruto responded at the same time. When those two left, the situation calmed down, making the first-year girl look strangely at the blonde present. And who are you? Nobara asked, pointing at the boy. Me? Naruto answered, pointing. The question here is who are you, he said with crossed arms, nodding his head slightly. Oh, I asked you first, and that has to do. They were both silenced by a blow from Maki. Stop your games, Naruto, the girl with glasses warned. Nobara, this is Uzumaki Naruto, second year, 4th grade sorcerer. However, don't be fooled by his degree, he is much stronger than that. That Maki-chan and I have that trait in common, revealed the blonde boy. Naruto, this is Kujisaki Nobara, first year, Maki informed, finally introducing them. Oh, I see, so you are my dear and tender kohai. You can tell me Naruto-senpai, the boy mentioned, ruffling the girl's hair. Bros, don't touch my hair, and Nobara complained about that gesture. And me wanting to be a good senpai. You hurt my fragile heart, Naruto said, touching his chest with 2 fingers. Hey, Maki, Nobara called. Is what she said true? That you have no damn power? It's true. For example, without these glasses, I can't even see the curses, she revealed, taking them off. What I use are previously cursed tools, it's not that I charge them with my cursed power like you do. Like the weapon they gave Itadori, Nobara thought. So why are you a sorceress? Screw them all. Can you imagine if the black sheep of the family becomes a great sorceress? What face will they make? I already want to see it, she exclaimed enthusiastically. Naruto put on a slight smile upon hearing that, and Nobara changed her expression completely. Hey, let's go quickly so that Dr. Shoko can't see you, Maki said. Quickly, Nobara stood next to him, being followed by Naruto steps further behind. The truth is that I respect you a lot, Maki-san, Nobara exclaimed. Oh, I see. Not like others, she said, looking at the blonde behind her. At this, a dark cloud of depression surrounded Naruto. Why doesn't anyone respect me? He asked, wiping away fake tears. Maybe if you stop that usual childish attitude, Maki advised. Although when you are in battle it is taken away from you, Naruto just pouted. However, don't let its degree mislead you, it is much stronger than that. Maki's words echoed in Nobara's head. It seems that Uzumaki Naruto was a mystery. Luckily she would have plenty of time to find out. Private room inside the school. A meeting was taking place between Goho Satoru and Yoshinobu Gakuganji, director of the Kyoto Jujutsu School. Last night 2 unregistered special grade spirits attacked me, Goho exclaimed. What a disaster. Don't get me wrong, it was nothing to me. Those cursed spirits had the ability to communicate. They must have more classmates from the same grade. And not only are enemies the level of some students, such as Hikari, Uzumaki, Akatsu and Taudu, has risen drastically these years, exclaimed the strongest sorcerer. And the Suguru Jido thing last year, and the appearance of the Sukuna vessel. What do you mean? You do not understand. The wave of power that you had contained to defend your hierarchies and ridiculous traditions is already enormous and continues to grow without stopping. The following generations will no longer be able to be measured to a special degree. If you think I'm the only one who's going to show my fangs, he said while images of Naruto and Yuta came to mind. You will have a very bad time, old man. You talk too much, insolent, he exclaimed angrily. Wow, how scary. I already said what I wanted to say, so I'm leaving, he exclaimed, getting up from his seat and heading towards the exit. Oh, right, Director Yaga is coming in a couple of hours, he revealed, finally leaving. A couple of days later. You're very slow, Megumi, Maki exclaimed. All the first and second years were practicing for the exchange event, which would be in a month and a half. Well, only Panda and Nobara trained. Inumaki, Maki and Naruto just watched. What were you doing? That doesn't matter, does it? Fushiguro answered, zipping up his jacket, closing it. Zenin-senpai, what kind of people would you like to save as a sorceress? The memories of seeing that woman cry for her son stirred her memory day by day. Huh? I don't think who to save, the girl exclaimed. I shouldn't have asked you that, Fushiguro answered with a flat expression. What? The girl screamed angrily. Fushiguro's scream was heard. Panda held Nobara by the feet, spinning her in the air. This is not the time to ask questions, replace me, the uniform is bothering me, let me wear a nice sweater, Nobara shouted, turning and turning. What are those two doing? Fushiguro asked, watching Nobara fly into the air. Plop, the sound of a bubblegum popping was heard. Practice your sprints, Naruto said, chewing his treat. Megumi looked at her blonde senpai, who was lying on the ground. I don't lose anything by trying, he thought. Uzumaki-senpai. Naruto turned his head to look at the raven-haired man. What kinds of people would you like to save? There was a brief silence where Naruto was left thinking, or so the expression on his face said. Let me see, if I were the protagonist of some manga, I would tell you all of them, he exclaimed, getting up. I guess those who deserve to be saved. Yes, I think so. And how do you know who is and who is not? You decide. That's the fun thing about being human, free will. Each one decides what to choose. Let's leave the spiritual talks for later, Maki said. First, take this one, he mentioned, throwing a wooden bow staff at Fushiguro. We'll talk later, she exclaimed, ready to fight. Later. At night she had already arrived at the academy. Let's see if it's true that he has returned, Goho Satoru exclaimed. The strongest sorcerer was walking through the academy in search of a certain student. I jump until I reach the ceiling of the bedrooms. Sitting watching the stars was Naruto eating chocolates. Around him there were dozens of open wrappers. So you're back, Goho mentioned, still reaching the blonde side. It's a nice wind, he said, feeling the small breeze. Naruto did not answer, putting a chocolate in his mouth. At that action, Goho's stomach growled. That's delicious, isn't it? Said the strongest sorcerer trying to grab a candy. Give me one. Quickly, Naruto moved it out of his reach. Give me one, Goho complained. They both began to move their arms rapidly. Goho trying to grab one, Naruto avoiding that. The blonde turned his back on him, defending what was his, and in one movement he put the chocolates into his mouth, wrapper and all. Come on, mean, I only wanted one, Goho complained, stamping his foot on the ground as if it were the reproach of a small child. Bah, whatever. What do you need? Naruto asked, turning his neck back to see his teacher. What can I ask you? I need your help, Goho revealed. Oh, a small expression of surprise came out of the boy's mouth. Interesting. Teacher and student were going down some stairs going to a place unknown to the second-year sorcerer. And good. Would you tell me what you need? I need you to teach someone some martial arts movements, said Goho, moving his arms through the air imitating poses, like the crane. They continued walking until they reached a room where only the light from a TV was on. In front of the television there was a shadow watching an old romance movie. I'm back, Goho said out loud, drawing the tenant's attention. Oh, sensei, the person exclaimed, turning to look at the pair. Naruto, meet Yuji Itadori, Goho mentioned. Sukuna's vessel. Naruto's eyes were tinged with surprise, and immediately a smile from ear to ear grew on his face. The big guys won't like this, Naruto commented, still not erasing his smile. Satoru Goho also smiled, imitating his student. I know. Teacher and student had the same dream in common. Change that world of sorcery controlled by the high worlds. This will be so fun, Naruto exclaimed, laughing. Goho started laughing too. All while Itadori watched the scene confused. End of chapter. I hope you liked it. The new cover is made by Zdarkjanok, so many thanks to him. We read each other in another chapter. Bye bye. Chapter 3. He felt the air leave his body suddenly. The right fist of his enemy left his stomach and Itadori Uji fell to the ground holding the affected area. I told you it was problematic to read your opponent's cursed energy, Naruto exclaimed, standing in front of Sukuna's container. You're hardly a beginner. Just learn some other movement that I teach you. The second-year sorcerer extended his hand to help Itadori. If Yuji had learned anything in these 6 days of training with his senpai, it was that Uzumaki Naruto was a monster in hand-to-hand combat. Naruto was an expert. He had been champion in the Olympic Games in the branch of Taekwondo 3 consecutive years, taking with him the gold medal. His room was filled with trophies everywhere you looked. Judo, Taekwondo, Karate, Kung Fu, and the list went on. He owed his life to martial arts. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? The blonde asked, waving one of his hands in front of the boy, who returned from his thoughts. Damn, pay attention to me, he complained, opening his mouth wide. As he told you, later you will learn about those things. For now focus on learning a fighting style. Naruto turned around to go get his popcorn. He was a sweet tooth. Ah, true, he commented, emptying the entire jar of popcorn into his mouth. You can't leave out Goho-sensei's training, he said while he chewed, giving him the appearance of a squirrel, having his cheek swollen. Itadori let out a sigh of resignation, going to grab the cursed doll, the director's specialty. The training was getting more complicated. Itadori took the doll into his arms, sending cursed power. If a constant flow was not maintained, his stuffed animal would wake up and hit you. All while he had to fight the second-year sorcerer. Naruto smiled, resuming training. Itadori watched as that pair laughed as if they had told a joke. Sensei? The question from Sukuna's container brought those two out of their trance. Oh, sorry, Goho exclaimed, putting his hands in an apology. Inside joke. Naruto shook his head slightly and at a slow pace approached the first-year boy. Uzumaki Naruto, 4th grade sorcerer, she extended her hand. Itadori Uji, 1st year. Nice to meet you, Naruto-senpai, he introduced himself, shaking the hand of his superior. Itadori changed his expression as he felt Naruto's hand squeeze his tightly. Not wanting to be left behind, the first-year boy responded forcefully. Not bad, Naruto exclaimed in a mocking tone, undoing the greeting. Really, not bad, he thought, waving his hand a little without being seen by anyone. For a beginner he had a force to be reckoned with. Itadori's reaction was different. The boy was on the ground blowing on his damaged hand. Hurts. In another place full of animal bones and water, there was a person sitting watching the whole situation. He was similar to Itadori Uji, the difference was the markings on his body and that his hair was up. Uzumaki. He smiled noticing that he had another pair of eyes below the normal ones. That was neither more nor less than Sukuna, the king of curses, the strongest curse. So a member of that annoying clan is still alive, he let out a small laugh. This gets more fun. Images of Megumi Fushiguro and Uzumaki Naruto came to his mind. The appearance of the Sukuna vessel, the sorcerers becoming stronger every day, curses appearing more and more powerful. Small things were changing, triggering something much bigger. The world of witchcraft was about to change. 1 month after. It was a beautiful night. But despite that, the silence was deathly. After all, they were in the morgue. Itadori was looking at a corpse covered by a bag. Junpei had been killed by Mahito. Itadori-chan, those tears don't look good on you, Naruto exclaimed, appearing on the scene, standing next to Sukuna's container. Would you give me a sermon? No, was Naruto's simple response as he threw a piece of candy into the air and swallowed it. Today I killed a person. Oh, I know that death is inevitable, but I wanted it to at least be a correct death. I don't know what a dignified death is. I don't even know, Naruto answered, resting his arms on the railing looking at the body bags. Death is the last stop for everyone, but everyone dies in different ways, he exclaimed, narrowing his gaze. Surely, with how stupid you are, you'll want to take everyone to that, and you will surely try. Don't risk your life too much. Because there will be people who will need you in the future, he said, standing up completely and turning around. After all, you are already a sorcerer, he finished saying to pat his kohai on the back. Naruto's footsteps leaving the room were heard and soon Itadori's eyes filled with tears. Goho put his tea on the table looking at the sorcerer in front of him. Naruto played with his watermelon-flavored candy. And good. What do you need? The exchange event will start soon. Naruto blurted out his question without looking at his teacher's face. Since he came back he was bored, maybe a fight with Todo changed his mood. At school there is someone who is leaking information to a group of curses, Goho exclaimed seriously. Naruto let out a yawn without looking at his teacher. In these days, curses of special grade appeared one after another. Or perhaps the spy communicates with a sorcerer. Naruto stood up from his seat, standing. The pinky of his right hand traveled to one of his ears, scratching. So what do you think? So then that's your question, Naruto said, cocking his head to the side. No, that's not it at all, he exclaimed, sticking out his tongue. I didn't listen to half of what you told me. Do it in one line. Goho Satoru looked impressed, then stood up and walked until he was in front of his student. I see, I'm sorry, said the strongest sorcerer. I'll get straight to the point then, okay. Goho lowered his head, looking down, connecting gazes. Are you a traitor? Naruto showed a small smile. And what if I am? Chapter 4. Despite that blindfold getting in the way, Naruto could feel Goho piercing him with his gaze. The atmosphere became heavier. After all, that pair in the room was releasing cursed energy from him. The aura surrounding Goho was a dark color with crimson and bluish flashes. Naruto's aura was golden with flashes of white here and there. After several seconds of silence, Naruto, with his hands on his waist, arched his back backwards. Ah, what a light reaction, he complained like a child. Pack. It was the sound that was heard when Naruto threw a candy into the air so that it immediately fell into his mouth. I guess you know he was lying. After all, if it had been true, he expressed, connecting his gaze with his teacher. My head would be rolling on the floor. Of course, Uzumaki-kun, Goho laughed, patting his student's right shoulder. You would already be dead. How scary. If you don't hurry, you'll be late for the event, advised the strongest sorcerer of all. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders, dismissing the matter, sitting back down on that comfortable futon. Goho walked to the exit, his hand was about to make contact with the handle, but the voice of his student stopped him. He may not be the traitor, but… Goho opened the door with his back to Naruto, without even turning to look at him. I want you to remember something. Following the same example, Naruto also didn't even turn to look at his teacher. I am free to move the things I want, he said, biting the candy inside his mouth, breaking it into pieces. Both in heaven and on earth. Simply, I exclaim, hearing the door close. I do it just for me. On the other side, in the hallway, Goho leaned against the door with a completely serious look. Really, he is a problematic boy, said the teacher, returning to his path. 2 hours later. Nobara felt her left eye twitch at such a revelation, she was really confused. Why are everyone empty-handed? The second-year trio and Fushiguro looked at the sorceress with different expressions. The question is. Why did you bring luggage? Panda-senpai asked. Like why? We're going to go to Kyoto, right? Nobara commented, seeing the confused faces of those present. To the exchange event with a sister subsidiary in Kyoto. It's the exchange event with the Kyoto sister branch, Panda said, approaching the girl. In Tokyo. It just can't be. I already said that she was strange these days, Maki exclaimed next to Megumi. True, she stated. The pair watched as Nobara hit the ground and cursed. "It's done at the school I won last year," Panda revealed. "And you won, stupid," Nobara shouted. "I didn't even participate last year," Panda spoke. There were people missing and Yuta came in to match the numbers. The first candidate was Naruto. "But that blonde said that he would be boring and refused to participate," Maki said, adjusting her glasses. "They say it was a landslide victory. I will never forgive you, Yuta Akatsu," Nobara shouted, kneeling on the ground, shaking her fist towards the sky. "Nu-chan, that expression doesn't suit you." Everyone turned back to watch Naruto walking up the stairs, eating a bucket of popcorn. "Nu-chan, is that me?" Nobara asked, looking at the blonde. That's right," she exclaimed, putting a couple of popcorn in her mouth. "Do you want?" she offered when he arrived next to her. "I'm fine." "Hey," Maki called to everyone. "Have arrived." On the opposite side from where the blonde had climbed, several shadows were beginning to be noticed, step by step more clearly. The Kyoto students. "Ah, are they the welcoming committee? How horrible," Mai mocked, being the first to speak. "The Katsu isn't even here," Todo exclaimed boredly. Naruto pouted, looking away. "They always made Yuta feel like she was stronger than him." "Well, actually, it was." "Shut up and give me those typical Kyoto sweets," Nobara said. "But this is how you speak, Nu-chan. I want sweet Yatsuhashi rice, kuzakiri noodles and sababaro cookies," the first-year student added. Beside her, Naruto was nodding his head, agreeing with the Kohai's demands of him. "How scary," Momo Nishimiya mentioned. "Aside from the fact that Akatsu is not there, isn't the fact that there are two first teams too much of a handicap?" Mekamaru asked. "Age is irrelevant in a sorcerer," Naruto said, looking at the entire opposing group. "And it's better for you that Yuta isn't there, right? They wouldn't want another beating like last year," he finished, smiling, showing his slightly sharp fangs. "Uzumaki," Mai grumbled, trying to attack. "Enough. The event hasn't started yet," he mentioned, the voice of a woman entering the scene. "Iori Utahim. Semi-first degree sorceress." Naruto still stood aside, letting Goho pass, who was carrying something with him. The blonde stifled a small smile, knowing beforehand what he was in that box. "Bah, who was inside?" "Yeah." The expression on that old man's face when he found out that Sukuna's vessel was still alive was worth gold. A small sparrow perched on his right shoulder. Naruto calmly ate the candy while lying under a tree. The event had started several minutes ago. Not wanting to get involved, Naruto escaped into the forest with the only company of his candy. His vision was directed to the side, where beyond, something or other was happening. 5 versus 1. "Things don't seem to be going well for Itadori-kun," he spoke, getting up from the ground. His hands traveled to his pants, patting them gently, removing any trace of dirt. Even that. At a slow pace he went deeper into the forest. Itadori was surrounded by most of Kyoto's sorcerers, with no way out. 4 against 1, 5, if you counted Momo Nishimiya's air support. "How noisy are they?" That voice caught the attention of everyone present, finding Naruto coming out of the shadows of the forest. "Many against 1. As a good senpai I will have to help my Kohai." "Flush. Right?" Naruto asked next to Itadori. That surprised everyone. "I could barely see how he moved," Noritashi Kamo thought. "Senpai," Itadori expressed. In response, Naruto gave him a thumbs up. Kamo was the first to attack but was stopped by the arm of his partner. "Sorry. But, could I take care of a certain person myself?" Mai asked, taking out the revolver from her. That small wound that Naruto gave her months ago was still in her memories, hurting her pride. "What do you say, Uzumaki?" Naruto just yawned, angering the woman even more. "Ants, otherwise you want your brains to fly," the girl shouted. Bang 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 bang. 4 shots were fired directly at the boy. Still yawning, Naruto tilted his body slightly to the left, letting the shots pass. "Ah," Naruto said, looking back where the shots had damaged a tree. "You're like a girl breaking things," he mocked. Mai tried to attack again, but this time, Kamo stopped her. "We all have to go together," she exclaimed. Naruto showed a small smile, seeing the shadow behind the boy with closed eyes. Kamo had to jump to avoid a blow that would have done him great damage. "I told you, right? I would kill them if they crossed my path," Todo mentioned, entering the scene, being the one who tried to hit. "You didn't say that," Kamo said. "You said you were going to kill us if we gave you orders." "Does not matter. Go away," he ordered seriously. A silence of several seconds settled in the place. "It seems we are retreating," Mekamaru exclaimed. "Pathetic," Mai whispered, turning around. "Thank goodness," Miwa thought happily. "Oh, they're running away," said Naruto, watching the Kyoto group leave, leaving that trio alone. Itadori touched Naruto's shoulder, drawing his attention. "Senpai, this is my fight." Naruto let out a long sigh of resignation. "Okay, but next time I'll fight," Naruto mentioned as he left the place, waving his hand as farewell. Itadori tried to breathe, taking in as much air as his lungs could. He had just delivered a blast of black flash. The Hanami special rank curse was in front of Todo and the Sukuna vessel. The teamwork of that duo had kept them alive. What a potential, Brother Todo thought happily, having counted the number of consecutive black flash. There was no doubt that Itadori would be someone strong in the future. Clap, applause echoed throughout the place. It's my turn to play. Naruto left walking with slow steps. His feet did not seem to make any sound, like that of a hunter searching for his prey. Leave me to me, and take a break. They look a little dehydrated. Okay, Itadori responded, after all he had asked him to fight the previous fight. If my brother thinks that, then it's fine, Todo exclaimed. The pair retreated several meters, allowing Naruto to pass. You're a special grade, I'll have to get serious with you, Naruto mentioned. The aura around Naruto increased. His arms descended to his waist and then raised them, bringing the palms of his hands towards the center of his chest, as if he were praying. It will be the first time I will see his technique, Todo expressed, looking seriously at the fight that was about to happen. From his palms, a golden light began to appear, soon disappearing and emerging behind Naruto. The brightness briefly blinded those present who did not want to miss that event. The light began to spread further until it took a shape. Ayakishiki Kanen Guanyin Bodhisattva of 100 types. Naruto smiled, giving a clap. Sanoti third hand. The Bodhisattva behind Naruto copied the movement of his user, attacking the curse with a clap, crushing it with his palms. Chapter 5. Naruto's gaze gained a little shine as he felt what was happening inside the hands of the summoning of him, the Bodhisattva. Nanami, using her physical strength, stopped that applause as much as she could without getting hurt. His arms extended fully and the Bodhisattva disappeared. Naruto's foxy smile grew even more, as if he were mocking his enemy. The curse couldn't even think when his enemy had already positioned itself in his prayer form. Ichinoti first hand. The fourth-class sorcerer performed a downward diving movement. Behind him, the Bodhisattva imitated the movement by hitting Hanami with a chop blow. A dense cloud of dust was generated at the site of impact, the ground beneath it had cracked slightly in the face of such force. The special grade curse brought one of his hands to his mouth, wiping away a small trickle of blood that ran down his chin. He focused his gaze on that human who gave off a dangerous aura, only to find himself back at the boy in a prayer position. He raised his guard, protecting himself from that golden palm that attacked his right side. Hanami let out a sound of effort. He was being dragged several inches to the side. His feet dug hard into the ground, causing small grooves in the ground. Finally, he could not resist the force of the blow and gave way to it, flying several meters into the forest. Naruto gave a slight yawn. From his right pocket he took out a small lollipop that he put in his mouth. Come on, unless you want to miss the show, the blonde said, starting to walk with his hands in his pockets towards where his enemy ended up. Naruto had to jump back, avoiding several branches coming out of the forest. TSK. The fourth-class sorcerer snorted, removing his hands from his pockets. At least let me enjoy my candy a little. From one of the branches on the right side of the sorcerer came Hanami in all her splendor. Naruto raised his guard, defending himself from a blow. He ducked, dodging a kick. His hands tried to join together to activate his technique, but he had to jump back to avoid being impaled by the branches. Itadori took a step forward, going to his senpai's aid. Itadori-chan, what do you think you're doing? Naruto asked, turning around and observing the pair of sorcerers. It's my fight, don't interfere, he said, winking. Todo's hand touched the pink-haired man's shoulder. You have to respect a man's desire, brother, Todo spoke, winking at him. Itadori's expression changed to a smile. He had gotten the message. Naruto started running straight towards Hanami. He tilted his head to the side, avoiding a branch sticking out of the ground. The sorcerer's smile grew a little when he saw a slight cut on his cheek. You won't let me implement my technique, right? Naruto asked, dodging another attack. Most of the curse's attacks were concentrated on the sorcerer's arms. But don't worry, I won't use my technique again. After all, it only takes my fists to kill you. Words full of arrogance and confidence came out of Naruto's mouth. Damn virus. The sorcerer smiled as he saw the curse getting angry. Crack. Naruto broke the lollipop in his mouth with his teeth and spat the remaining piece of plastic at his opponent. The target hit Hanami's face. A small piece of plastic wouldn't hurt a curse at all, but it would cause a few seconds of confusion. And a few seconds in battle could be the key. Hanami's head shook violently as Naruto's right fist impacted her. The sorcerer jumped, landing a knee to his opponent's chin. And Hanami hit Naruto, making him retreat several meters back. The branches came out of the ground towards the sorcerer, who stood still watching the attack come towards him. No. That fighting alone, Naruto exclaimed with a foxy smile. It was a lie, he said, winking at his enemy. Clap. The sound of applause echoed through the place. Naruto appeared above Hanami, hitting him with a downward kick to the head. Clap. This time Itadori appeared, sending a hook to the liver of the curse. Clap clap. An uppercut from Naruto made Hanami spit saliva. Another blow from Itadori shook the head from the curse. A kick to the stomach made Hanami double over. Clap clap clap. A blow to his back, another to the chin. Hanami defended himself as best he could, but those two understood each other too well. The period where the pair spent training together showed its fruits in the fight. Naruto and my brother, they are the perfect duo, Todo thought, smiling, applauding once again. Clap. Naruto and Itadori were left in front of their enemy. Both completely focused on the curse. Todo's eyes widened with excitement at the scene he was about to witness. His eyes filled with tears. The pair of sorcerers launched their blows. Black flash, black flash. Both sorcerers hit the curse in the stomach with that devastating blow. Cough. Nanami opened her mouth, letting out a huge amount of blood. The vast majority of her internal organs had been burst. He was thrown backwards, crashing hard against a rock. His body did not stop in front of this and ended up going through it until he collided with several more trees. It's over, Naruto exclaimed with his hands in his pockets. I don't think so, Itadori said next to him, watching his opponent slowly get up from the ground. That's not why I said it. Naruto simply turned around and started walking, leaving the place. Naruto? Itadori asked, confused. Nanami watched as that human left the place as if the battle had ended. He gritted his teeth in fury. Around the special grade curse, the flowers withered, leaving a landscape full of sadness. Don't look down on me, human. The flower on Hinami's right arm opened, showing how it gathered cursed energy. Brother, he is emitting an exaggerated amount of cursed energy, Todo shouted, warning the pink-haired man. Naruto continued walking without caring about the attack that would come from behind him. He didn't even deign to look back, not even for a second. I told you I'm done, the blonde spoke without stopping his walk, pointing towards the sky. Nanami stopped. The barrier had been destroyed, and meters above the ground, Satoru Goho's piercing eyes analyzed everything. But the strongest sorcerer, the battle was already decided. Several days later. In a small village in Shirakawa Prefecture. The incident at the exchange festival had been a cover for stealing several cursed items, locked in the school. The most important were 3 cursed wombs, something that worried the high places in sorcery. Why me? Naruto complained as he continued walking through that forest thanks to his mission. The festival had ended with a baseball game among the students. Game where Naruto could not participate due to odd numbers. Which the blonde was grateful for, since he entertained himself eating his candy while watching the game. Finally, thanks to a home run by Itadori, they took the victory that year. Damn old people. The sorcerer cursed the old men of the high positions of the world of sorcery. They didn't get along. For some reason his status remained as 4th class, even though at first glance Naruto was stronger than that. They don't even pretend to want to kill me anymore, he exclaimed, letting out a small laugh, observing the scene in front of him. According to the report, it would be a simple mission, something that even a 3rd-class sorcerer could do. Yes, of course. Naruto had arrived at the village seeing only blood everywhere. There was no sign of the villagers. The 200 inhabitants had disappeared, leaving only blood at the scene. They didn't disappear, they ate them, Naruto exclaimed, crouching down inspecting the blood on the ground. At least some of the report was true. The curse with a humanoid shape, similar to an ant, eh? Naruto whispered, walking again. He should hurry towards the next nearest village, surely the curse would be heading there. At least it will be fun, there is no doubt that this is a special rank curse. He continued walking, ignoring all the destruction around him. End of chapter. Well, I think it's more than obvious who Naruto's opponent will be. I hope you liked him. Chapter 6. There was no point fighting that thing. He saw his companions die as if they were nothing. So many years of being sorcerers, so many years of training, had been of no use. That ant-shaped curse had to be a special grade, something they couldn't handle with his rank. His shoulder stopped and he looked back. Nothing. Had he managed to escape? The man sighed and relaxed all the muscles in his body. As soon as he reaches his school, he would abandon the world of sorcery. His instinct screamed when a sound in that forest was heard. The small sound of a branch cracking. No, he whispered with fear. The tears flowed unchecked down his face. The grotesque sound of something tearing flesh sounded in the forest. The man looked down at him to see a hand protruding from his stomach from behind. No, those were the subject's last words. His head was torn from his body with a simple bite. The cloud stopped covering the moon, and the light from that satellite showed the scene that was taking place. It was a humanoid shape mixed with that of an ant. It had 2 long appendages extending from its earlobes and a large shell armor on its head resembling a helmet. There were dark pigmented areas on his arms, legs, chest and head. From its back, a powerful tail with a stinger emerged. The curse stopped chewing its victim to pay attention to the side. Outside there is someone strong. The curse began to run back towards the village he had left minutes ago. Her sapphire eyes studied the entire panorama. Only death where she saw. She had arrived late again, another small village had been massacred. She bent down slightly, grabbing a small teddy bear from the floor. Centimeters away from him, the corpse of a little girl extended her hands, as if in her last moments, she had wanted to hug her toy. Without saying anything, Naruto put the stuffed animal in his clothes. Next to the girl's corpse, there was another in uniform. It seemed that several sorcerers from some other school had tried to stop the curse, to no avail. He seems to have a certain taste for brains. The majority of corpses had had the same feature, the lack of that organ. With deadly silence, Naruto stood up fully. His gaze focused on the forest beyond. His eyes seemed to shine thanks to the light of the moon. There is no king. None were. From the shadows of the trees, the special rank curse emerged with slow steps. Naruto began to walk towards his enemy. Are you the king of humans? So insects can talk. Naruto and the curse came face to face. Up close you look more like an insect, the sorcerer exclaimed with a mocking smile painted on his face. The curse launched a right hand, hitting Naruto's cheek. The force was so much that the ground beneath the blonde cracked slightly. Weak. You are not the king either, he expressed the curse. Naruto stood with his head down, looking at the ground, his bangs covering his gaze. Whoops. The sorcerer spat out a small amount of blood mixed with saliva. He raised his face, revealing a small trickle of blood running down the left side of his mouth. His mocking smile was still engraved on his features, at no time had he erased it. I thought you would be a curse of special rank, but you are not, you are even inferior. The mocking smile began to grow even more. Who say? If I can be wrong. The curse launched another blow towards its enemy, but before it hit, Naruto's hand grabbed the ant's wrist tightly, stopping him. Naruto began to apply even more force. The curse fell on her knees to the ground trying to get out of that grip. This is a right hand. The ant looked up only to feel something hit his face. The curse shot to the side, crashing into the nearest house, completely destroying it. It is quite robust. Could it be because of his exoskeleton? He murmured, looking at his enemy. I'll have to destroy it. Among the dust and smoke generated, red eyes looked back at him. The curse came out of the cloud of dust towards Naruto. The sorcerer waited for the ant with his hands at chest level, in the form of a prayer, confusing the curse. The bodhisattva behind Naruto launched a punch. The golden palm hit the ant, sending it flying back further. 1 2 3 4. Only in the fifth house, the curse stopped after becoming embedded in the wall. The curse shook his head slightly trying to calm the daze. Who was this human? A contest of physical strength would be useless. He put his thoughts aside when from above, Naruto appeared unleashing a downward kick. Using his speed, the curse moved out of the path of the attack, dodging it. When Naruto's heel hit the ground, it cracked. Naruto with a bored expression, turned his face to see his opponent meters away from him, flying in the air. 2 pairs of wings had emerged from the ant's back, allowing it to fly. My advantage lies in speed, thought the curse. Naruto brought one of his hands to his mouth, wiping away the blood from the previous small blow. I've finished warming up. Naruto finished speaking to observe the claws of his enemy inches from his face. The curse opened its eyes in surprise. Did he avoid me? Naruto appeared on the right side launching a kick. The ant defended itself by stopping the blow. Catching him by the heel, he threw the sorcerer towards a nearby house. Naruto spun in the air and landed on the wall, using it as a platform, he propelled himself back towards his old spot. He not only matches my speed. The curse defended itself from another blow. It's even faster. Do humans this strong exist? The right hand shook the ant's jaw. The fists of both opponents collided in the middle of the exchange. In desperation, the ant launched another blow. Naruto caught his opponent's left arm, imprisoning him. The mocking smile on his face grew even more. With one jerk, Naruto tore the enemy's arm off of him, who screamed in pain and fell to the ground. Fear. I have to run away. The curse regenerated his wounds with his cursed energy and made him run without looking back. Naruto narrowed his gaze at him. The ant jumped, flapping its wings, and began to fly. I must put distance between us. The golden palm eclipsed the curse's field of vision. The ant was slammed into the ground hard. Desperate, she began to drag herself along the ground in an attempt to escape. Naruto was meters away from the ground thanks to the jump he had made. He rested his right ankle on his left calf, joining his index fingers and thumb with both hands, forming the number 99. Tsukumo no T-hand 99. The bodhisattva appeared, bombarding the curse with a barrage of palm blows. With each blow he was buried further. The ground began to crack and dust began to rise at the scene. With one last blow, a huge cloud of dust was generated. After several seconds, the dust cleared, revealing a huge hole in the ground. In the center of it was the completely static ant. Naruto began to walk down slowly. Upon arrival, the sorcerer watched in silence. The ant gave a whimper, but was quickly silenced when Naruto's foot slammed into his chest. Unable to move, the ant opened its eyes to observe those sapphires like 2 ice flows. Precise and fast, Naruto destroyed his enemy's head with a single blow. What an irony. In his death, the curse was left in the same way as most of his victims, headless. Hours later, Naruto rifled through his pockets looking for something, finding it, he pulled out a small cell phone. I dial a number and wait patiently while I watch the sun rise over the horizon, announcing a new morning. Mashi Mashi, Naruto spoke pulling out a small lollipop from his back pocket. Hello Ichichi-chan, the blonde greeted. I was just calling to report that the mission went great. Naruto remained silent as he listened to the guy on the other side. Yes. And without a warning he quickly cut it off, leaving poor Hechicero with words in his mouth. He put the cell phone away and continued tasting its sweet watermelon flavor for several minutes, alone and in silence. The corpses of the villagers and sorcerers had disappeared. The only trace that marked that there was a massacre and fight in that place was the destroyed houses and the huge hole in the ground. It's the only thing I can do for you. Naruto looked at the dozens of graves on the ground. For hours he had dedicated himself to burying people and giving them a dignified end. Despite his attitude, he was still human, and deep inside, he had emotions. He crouched down looking at the small grave in front of him. I searched through his clothes and pulled out the teddy bear. I'm sorry, girl, he exclaimed, leaving the toy on her grave. If it had been faster, you would be enjoying life. And with a small sad smile, Naruto left the place. Several seconds later, a small breeze passed through the place. Thank you. The voice of a little girl could be heard. But her words were never heard. End of chapter. It may have seemed like an easy fight to them, but Naruto himself explains it when he receives the first blow. That curse was not at the level of a special grade 1, it was weaker. I hope you liked it. Chapter 7, Tokyo. In some cafeteria in the city there was the peculiar trio of first years. Itadori's old partner, Yuko Ozawa, had abandoned them several minutes ago. I can't stand Itadori finding a girlfriend before I get a boyfriend, Nobara exclaimed, pointing at the pink-haired man. I have to be above him. It had been a couple of days since the mission where they got a finger from Sukuna. Itadori and Nobara had to deal with a pair of cursed wombs. That fight had changed something within Sukuna's vessel. Could curses cry? He was not the only one who changed in a psychological aspect. Megumi also achieved this by defeating a higher grade curse and achieving an incomplete extension of mastery. Another change that occurred was the recommendation by Mei Mei and Todo Aoi that Itadori, Megumi, Nobara, Maki and Panda be named first-grade sorcerers. Hey look, it must be a foreigner, Kaya has seen me. The murmurs of the group of teenage girls caught the attention of the first-year wizards. And now what happens? Nobara asked, looking back where the teenager's gaze was fixed. He was a tall guy who was asking for his order at the register. It's Uzumaki-senpai, Fushiguro spoke, drinking his coffee without giving it importance. Naruto had left his uniform behind. Right now he was wearing a black sleeveless t-shirt which had a print of a rabbit with an eye patch with the word Usachin on it. Some loose black pants and a pair of simple white sneakers. Thank you, Miss Chan, Naruto said, taking his request. The fourth-grade sorcerer began to walk in search of somewhere to take the drink from him. Senpai Itadori shouted, greeting the blonde enthusiastically. The blonde sapphire eyes caught the presence of the first-year trio, and with a smile he approached them. Ida-chan, Nu-chan, and Megu-chan. It's been a while, he greeted, sitting next to the pink-haired man who had left him a space. Hello, the three returned the greeting. Naruto concentrated on drinking his chocolate drink, ignoring the Kohase's stares at him. How have you been, Uzumaki-senpai? Megumi asked. Or did you miss your senpai? Did you miss me? Naruto said, taking out some sweets from his pocket. No, Megumi and Nobara answered. Yes, Itadori exclaimed. Naruto just removed the hair from Itadori's head, as if he were a dog. I had to take care of a humanoid ant-shaped curse, he revealed without giving the matter any more importance. As he continued to focus on finishing his drink, he couldn't help but compare that scene to the past. The first-year boys laughing while chatting pleasantly, it reminded him of his time in first year, that is, last summer. Naruto let out a small smile. What's wrong? Nobara exclaimed. Nothing, Naruto mentioned, tasting the watermelon flavor of the candy in his mouth. He just remembered. Speaking of memories, Uzumaki-senpai, Fushiguro called. How did you get downgraded? According to rumors, you used to be a first-grade sorcerer. That Itadori exclaimed in astonishment. It can't be that with your level you are in 4th grade. Are you curious? Naruto asked, smiling. Okay, I'll tell them. It happened last year, in a galaxy far, far away. This is not Star Wars. Last year. Jujutsu Technical School, Tokyo. The first-year wizard class was made up of only 4 students. Did you hear about the new student? They say he put 4 of his classmates in a locker, exclaimed a panda. Shall I kill them? Asked a girl with glasses looking bored at the blackboard. Dunameo. No, he only seriously injured them, the panda revealed. What do you think, Naruto? The blonde just drank his orange juice without caring about anything around him. Well, if he gets dense, you just have to hit him, said Naruto. The kaka. The classroom door was opened in surprise, allowing his teacher, Satoru Goho, to enter. I'm going to introduce you to your new partner. Come on, everyone, up with that enthusiasm, Goho shouted, making gestures with his hands. I set up, he exclaimed when he saw everyone with bored expressions. He expected it from Naruto but not from the others. He doesn't seem like a good guy, Maki-Zenin complained. Why do we have to feign enthusiasm for someone like that? Shake. Well, it doesn't matter, Goho said with a sigh. You may come in. As soon as the door opened, Naruto's attention was focused on his new partner. That energy he gave off behind him was enormous. He wasn't the only one. The other three also reacted. Maki, Toge and Panda's eyes expressed danger. The girl was the first to react, bringing her hands to her case that was resting next to her. "My name is Yuta Akatsu," the boy introduced himself in front of everyone. "It's a pleasure to meet you." The edge of Maki's weapon stabbed into the side of Yuta's face, just inches away from killing him. "This is a joke. Hey, you are cursed." Maki, Toge and Panda were in front of Yuta about to attack him. "This is a school to learn curses. Not a place for damn people to come," Maki said angrily. "You can only face curses with curses," Goho began to speak, capturing everyone's attention. "Here you come to learn how to exercise them. We call it Tokyo Jujutsu Technical School. Why didn't he tell me before?" Yuta thought, scared of everything. "Is he just explaining it to you now?" The other three thought. Naruto finished drinking his juice and focused his gaze on Yuta, more specifically, what was behind the boy. "If I were you, I would stay away from him," Naruto warned. Two hands manifested behind Yuta catching the girl's gun. "Do not disturb Rika," Yuta, several minutes later. "So his story is more or less like this. He is cursed by Rika, who loves him very much," Goho finished explaining. "Meet Yuta Akatsu. Welcome him." Nobody said anything, making the atmosphere more uncomfortable. "They are in their rebellious phase, so I better introduce them to you," Goho exclaimed. Maki Zenin. "Use special weapons that can exorcise curses," he said, pointing at the girl. Dojin Yamaki. His vocabulary is limited to onigiri ingredients, so he tries to understand him as best you can. Shake. "Panda, I'm Panda. Nice to meet you." And the blonde with the air of a monk is Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto just yawned. "This afternoon's jujutsu practice will be done in 2 separate groups," Goho revealed. "One is going to be Toge and Panda. And the other Maki and Yuta. Naruto will just keep watch." "Ugh," Maki complained. "Nice to meet you," Yuta exclaimed nervously. Naruto just gave him a thumbs up, giving him approval. "I used to bully you, right?" Maki mentioned. Seeing the boy's expression, she knew she was right. It was obvious. "I would have bullied you too." "Maki-chan," Naruto called. "Close your mouth." "The kaka, alright. I understand," the girl exclaimed. "In some elementary school in Osaka." Naruto accompanied by the other pair passed through the school entrance. "What is this?" "A primary school like any other," Naruto answered. "A primary school like any other where children disappear." "Do they disappear?" "It's probably because of the curses," the blonde exclaimed, taking out a ramen-flavored popsicle from his pocket. Like today, he was only watching because it was his time to rest. His mission is to exorcise the curses and save the children. If they are already dead, at least get their bodies back. Naruto brought one of his hands to his chest, forming a sign with his fingers. Emerge from the shadows, blacker than darkness itself, to purify this dirt. A black substance began to appear in the sky and descend, surrounding the entire primary. "It's getting dark," Yuta said, impressed. "It's a curtain. A barrier that makes them invisible from the outside and makes curses come out," Naruto explained, walking to the exit. "Oh yeah. Don't die." Yuta shouted. But it was too late. Naruto had disappeared behind the curtain. The curtain fell apart and Naruto watched as Yuta collapsed unconscious in front of him. On his back, also unconscious, were Maki and the 2 missing children. "It's good that they came back. It looks like they made an effort," Naruto exclaimed, leaving a piece of candy on the boy's chest as a reward. It was a huge room. Dozens of seats were arranged in a U-shape. Rows of 8 seats separated by steps, leaving more than 10 rows visible. And all those seats were occupied by different people, and all of them focused their gazes on the 2 individuals in the center of everything. Rika Orimoto, special grade vengeful cursed spirit, fully manifested for 422 seconds. The big shots in the world of witchcraft. Those who marked what was right and wrong. Despite how rotten they were. "We had left Akatsu in your hands to prevent a situation like this," Satoru Goho, the voice of an old man, echoed throughout the room. The strongest sorcerer just giggled. "Uzumaki Naruto, you were in charge too. You must have done something. What if Rika Orimoto had remained loose? She would have wreaked havoc." Another old man's voice echoed through the room. Naruto didn't even meet their eyes. "Can I go now?" That question began to anger most of them. "Don't forget who you're dealing with, brat, show us some respect." The voice of another old man sounded from behind Naruto and Goho. How insistent. Naruto opened his mouth in a gesture of disgust. "I respect. Both in heaven and on earth, I am the only one worthy of respect." A sound began to be heard throughout the room. The sound of old people's teeth clenching furiously. Some of them even dug their nails hard into the desks. "Don't buck with us, you're not a brat bastard, don't underestimate us." Naruto smiled, listening to all the insults of those old men with open arms. "Damn, don't make us angry." Naruto inhaled some air and let it out slowly. "Shut up." Some elders changed their expressions on their faces. "I only came here to tell you one thing," Naruto exclaimed, pointing a finger at the chamber above, where Tenjin-sama was observing everything covered by several curtains. Everyone remained silent when they saw how that sorcerer dared to point out Tenjin. I know very well that the execution of Akatsu was proposed. If you don't help him, then I will help him. If old people get in the way, then. Naruto let the cursed energy out of him. The ground beneath him began to crack against the pressure of power. Everyone's expressions changed in a single second. Fear, fury, anger, terror. I will kill them. Chapter 8. Stunned. Stupefied. Surprised. Shocked. That statement shook everyone in the room. No. Only one person was not surprised. Though Satoru had a small smile on his face. In both heaven and earth he believes himself to be the only one worthy of honor, Satoru thought smiling. To his bad luck, Naruto's soul does not move with the interests of others, and that made Naruto more dangerous. The student began to leave the place slowly without paying attention to the elders. Come on, let's calm things down a little, Goho exclaimed, moving his hands in desperation, also beginning to leave. However, as for Akatsu's execution. If it comes to that, don't forget either that I will be on his side. Behind his sunglasses, his eyes shone dangerously. A declaration of war against the High Command of Sorcery. 3 months later. After that meeting it was more than obvious what consequences would hit the student. His first class rank had been removed and the blonde was demoted to 4th class. Although that interested him a bit. Naruto put on a small smile as he watched Yuta fall to the ground for the 10th time that day. Don't get distracted, idiot, Maki exclaimed with a wooden staff resting on his shoulders. Okay, the boy answered, rubbing his cheek due to the girl's blow. That on your guard, come on, the girl mentioned, watching Yuta stand up. You said you'd land a hit today. Yuta put himself on guard, raising his wooden sword. Training resumed with the fight between those two. Maki launched a blow that was barely blocked. Yuta was not far behind and launched a horizontal slash. The girl jumped into the air, avoiding him, staying behind Yuta. Bad play, Yuta, Naruto said, tasting the lollipop in his mouth. Thinking that he would hit it, Yuta turned around, launching another horizontal slash. Like a dancer, Maki spread her legs against the ground, dodging the attack. It can't be, Yuta exclaimed discouraged. Maki's legs wrapped around the boy in a wrestling hold, knocking him to the ground. You're dead, Maki said, lightly hitting the boy's forehead with his gun. I win again, she exclaimed, smiling. Was that last blow necessary? Don't be delicate, Yuta, Naruto said, drawing the boy's attention. The fact that there is pain or not makes you grow and mature faster. Yuta got up from the ground with another expression on his face. Please continue, he asked, putting himself on guard again. Training began again. Both Naruto, Panda and Toge diverted their attention to the side, watching their teacher arrive. Eyes, come here. I have an announcement, Satoru said, calling everyone. Naruto, they assigned you a mission, aren't you happy? The missions that were given to Naruto increased in difficulty over time. The elders no longer hid the fact that they wanted to kill him. A mission for someone of my category, I'm afraid. Naruto hugged himself as he shook, he was clearly acting. I'll need help, right, Yuta? He exclaimed, seeing the black-haired man. Yuta just looked down with a sigh. What could go wrong on a trip with Naruto? The car stopped in front of the entrance to a commercial business. It seemed totally empty. The sound of a grotesque scream was heard down the long hallway. Naruto and Yuta stood looking down the long, wide hallway full of shops. The Hapina shopping district is almost completely abandoned, reported a black-haired man with glasses. It seems that this entire area is planned to be demolished to build a shopping mall. Kiyotaka Ijichi. While checking the area, several lower-grade curses were found, Ijichi mentioned. If bad things happen in these buildings, it would not be good for the investment. So we were tasked to exorcise her. I see, Naruto responded, entering the place followed by Yuta, although he honestly had not paid attention to what the assistant said. I'm going to lower the curtain. Good luck, I wish, Ijichi. Both students were locked in that hallway, a black barrier separating them from the outside. Well, I'll tell you the real reason why I made you come with me, Naruto exclaimed seriously. Seeing him with that serious expression, Yuta changed his expression, attentive to what his senpai would say about him. The reason is I don't want to work, so you'll do all the work for me, Naruto revealed, erasing his seriousness to replace it with an amused smile. Naruto looked ahead to see dozens of fish-shaped curses. Weak curses tended to gather in groups. End the shoal, Yuta-chan. Almost without question, Yuta rushed forward, slashing left and right all over the place. Within several minutes, the entire shoal was exorcised. We can go home now. Naruto turned around to see how the barrier was still active. The curtain doesn't go up, so we won't be able to go out, Yuta said. Piyush. The presence appeared behind the pair of students, who turned their gaze behind them. The curse that had appeared was in a meditative posture, levitating a few centimeters above the ground. It was covered in hair, 2 lower fangs protruded from its mouth, and finishing off its appearance, it had a huge nose or some kind of proboscis. The curse crossed his fingers. Zanba. A small fragment of light appeared in the space between the 2 students. Sensing danger, Naruto pushed Yuta out of the path of the attack. The light grew and pierced the ground, forming a perfect circle. Is it a thing of the elderly? he thought, dodging another attack of that curse. No, they would have chosen a stronger curse. This is someone else's thing. Naruto jumped into the air, flipping backwards, dodging another attack. He landed on the ground, standing upside down, balancing himself with one arm. The blonde smiled, mocking his opponent. The curse seemed to understand that the human was making fun of it. He opened his mouth, letting out animal sounds. It seemed like he was growling. Naruto smiled, going against his opponent. He crouched down, avoiding a slap. The student launched an uppercut imbued with cursed energy straight to the chin of his opponent. The curse's head was torn off in a second, killing him. "I'll go when I go, okay?" he said, smiling. "Incredible," Yuta exclaimed, still on the ground, having seen everything. From the shadows, someone was beginning to pull the strings of a future performance. On the roof, without any of the students realizing it, someone had seen the entire scene. What a pity. And I had come to see the famous Rika. Several days later. Jujutsu school. Naruto yawned, looking up at the sky. "Is something wrong?" Panda asked, meters away from him. Naruto didn't answer. He simply raised his shoulders dismissively, beginning to walk towards his companions. For the first time, all the first-year students had a joint mission. "How strange," Maki said, looking up at the sky. "So this was what you saw, Naruto," Panda said. Flap, a huge bird landed in front of the students. A person descended from above him. "I don't think they have authorization to be here," Maki said, preparing for battle. "Akaka, it's a bird," Yuta exclaimed in surprise. "This place hasn't changed at all," the newcomer mentioned. The bird opened its mouth, letting more people begin to come out. "Ugh. Mr. Jito, is this really Tokyo? It stinks like the countryside," a girl complained. "Nanako, don't be rude," asked another girl who looked about her age. You think the same too, don't you, Mimiko?" The students quietly watched the intruders, studying them in case they attacked. In the blink of an eye, the one who looked like the boss was in front of Yuta, taking his hand. "Nice to meet you, young Akatsu. My name is Suguru Jito," the subject introduced himself. "Nice to meet you," Yuta answered without understanding what was happening. Panda, Maki and Inumaki quickly turned to see that guy. None of them had realized that he had moved until he was already upon them. "You're the owner of a wonderful power," Jito praised, looking at Yuta. The sorcerer moved until he was in front of Naruto. "You also have extraordinary power," Jito exclaimed, placing one of his hands on the student's shoulder. Naruto shifted his gaze to Jito's hand holding his shoulder. He again directed his gaze towards the subject in front of him. "And for me, a great power has to be used for a great objective," Jito mentioned with a wink. "How long would this guy touch his shoulder?" Naruto's gaze began to narrow with danger. "Don't you question the world as it is?" Jito asked. "I mean this world where sorcerers move." Jito couldn't finish speaking when he felt a kick hit him hard in the belly. Everyone was shocked to see Naruto attack. Jito took several steps back, holding his stomach. "I'm sorry," Naruto exclaimed. Who were you? Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.